We're still seeing but it's clear the white nationalists and far-right incidents and fatalities are ascending.
Okay, but Brian, so I want to take this particular example then. Is there, and do you feel there's anything, if I take your framework, right, regulate content on free speech, I beg your pardon, regulate content online, if I take that framework, is that something that could have been applied, for instance, or that could have prevented this particular attack? We're talking about a suspect who had said on a website, a message board, I don't even want to say the name, you know it, I know it, I'm going to do something. It's time to stop just posting. I'm going to start acting, and I'm going to do it right now. With your framework, do you think that could have been prevented?
Possibly not, but we know in 30 to 40% of the cases, according to research of some of our colleagues in the American Society of Criminology, have found that there's leakage. Close friends, co-workers, relatives, or people who look at the social media account. This was relatively short order as far as the chronology. But I think you make an excellent point, and here's what happened. Post-Charlottesville, these groups that were in public and they all got doxxed, the leadership became disabled, the groups broke up, but the hornets are still flying around. And what we're seeing is a splintering of these groups. They've done a lot of papering, not so much marching, what for instance, my friends at the ADL found. Real big increase in that kind of public engagement, this hit or miss, banners, flyers, things like that. But there's a more leader, meaner set of folks who are interested in violence. And what we want to do is make sure that we're not ensnaring more of these people. The problem is we're leading to more personal and affinity-based platforms. In other words, whatever your interest is, there's going to be a social media platform for it, and there's going to be direct communication.
Yeah, it's easier for people who want to exchange.
These kinds of folks to interact and radicalize in a much more fragmented social media community.
Yeah, and I was talking about that yesterday with one of our technical and social media analysts, and we were making the point that the internet is particularly good at connecting and amplifying, but it doesn't really choose what it connects and amplifies. And so if it's evil and if it's hate speech, that's what happens, and that's what we saw in this event as well. Brian Levin, thank you again for standing by for us, and thanks for coming back. Pleasure speaking to you as always.
Thank you, and we're going to be writing some of these social media companies about live streaming and things. We're working on that too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, and you know who else is going to be talking to the social media companies? Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister. I don't know if you caught that, but at the end of her press conference, she said, yeah, I'll be talking to Facebook. Because that video, 17 minutes long, online, live streaming of a massacre, 50 people killed. All right, Brian Levin, thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
In other news, the so-called Yellow Vest protests in Paris have turned violent once again. French police fired tear gas and used water cannons to disperse protesters who shattered store windows and set a newspaper stand on fire. This is the 18th consecutive Saturday of demonstrations against President Emmanuel Macron and his policy. Injured in the clashes, including 17 police officers and a fireman. France 24 correspondent Catherine Norris-Trent has more.
These were the most intense clashes between Yellow Vest protesters and police for several weeks. There were tense standoffs along the Champs-Élysées Avenue here, a hard core of protesters encircled by riot police for several hours. The air was thick, with tear gas fired at the protesters by security forces. It was also full of smoke billowing from burning buildings and cars. Rioters had smashed and looted several shops and restaurants here, and on one building which they'd set on fire, on the ground floor was a bank premises, but upstairs there were still people living inside, and those residents, including a mother and a young baby, had to be dramatically rescued by firefighters. To give you some official figures now, as of 7 p.m. Paris time, we were told that 192 people had been questioned by police over the violence, 106 of them taken into custody, and there were several injuries too, with 42 protesters, 17 security forces and one firefighter as well. Its yellow vest protesters' anger has cut short a skiing holiday in the southwest of France. He's returning to Paris in the wake of these clashes. A little earlier, on the scene, the French Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, had denounced the violence, condemning it as unacceptable. There had been a sense that the yellow vest protest movement had been dying down. We'd seen fewer demonstrators hitting the streets in recent weeks. But on this, the 18th consecutive weekend of protests, these clashes show there is still an anger simmering in France. Catherine Norris-Trent for CNN in Paris.
Thousands of people in Spain are showing support for Catalan separatist leaders on trial. Huge crowds marched in Madrid on Saturday. 12 Catalan leaders are facing years in prison for their role in organizing an independence referendum in 2017. The Spanish government's called the vote illegal, but protesters